Hello, and welcome to Career CPR with Tammy and Jerry, the podcast show that helps the workplace create a healthy working environment, which leads to engaged leaders and employees. The show gives valuable tips and tools in the areas of job satisfaction and career success. Your host for Career CPR is Tammy Gilbert, a multi-talented author, speaker, MBA, and registered nurse with over 3 decades of successful work experience. Joining her dynamic, hard-hitting, fun, and insightful podcast is her co-host, Jerry Cox. Jerry is also a registered nurse with her Master of Science in Nursing, a certified rehab nurse. Jerry is both an educator and a manager. Together, both of these experts will give you the advice and guidance you need to get engaged and boost your career satisfaction, as well as the occasional wake-up call to immediately motivate you.
Hello, and welcome to the show, Career CPR with Tammy and Jerry. I am Tammy Gilbert.
And I'm Jerry Cox.
Today's topic is how to respond effectively to political discussions in the workplace.
Today's quotes of encouragement and motivation is that in politics, nothing happens by accident. And if it does happen, you can bet it was planned that way. And this quote is by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Another quote by Nikita Khrushchev states that politicians aren't the same all over. They promise to build a bridge even where there is no water or no river.
That is funny. That just kind of reminds you about, not to take political discussions so seriously. But anyhow, there are so many things going on in the country at this time. And the country is so divided. Many people have very strong opinions when it comes to politics. And because of this, people should just leave their political opinions out of the workplace when possible. I know you cannot avoid it at all, but whenever it's possible, it should be avoided.
Discussing politics in the workplace is currently a major hot topic that has stimulated an increase in positive versus negative opinions. When President Trump ordered the airstrikes on Syria, opinions are voiced everywhere around the world, also in the workplace and in households as well. There were split reactions such as anger, fear, on whether the right decisions were made.
Yeah, that's true. You are so right. Airstrikes on Syria is generating strong opinion that is affecting the workplace environment in a negative ways right now, because some coworkers think that President Trump made the right decision in ordering the airstrikes on Syria, and some coworkers think it was a wrong decision. And the coworker who think he made the right decision, also, some of them are saying that he did not do it in the right way by not getting the Congress approval. So as you can see, this is the conversation that's going on in the workplace currently that can potentially have an effect on the productivity of the employees and the emotional state as well.
Yes, that's so true, Tammy. And then talking about politics on the job, it can be very uncomfortable, it can be awkward. And it's really a delicate topic that can really hurt others' feelings. There really is a need to respect others' beliefs and their opinions, but not necessarily you have to really agree with them. So if one voices a strong opinion, it tends to make one feel isolated, disliked, and also intimidated.
Yeah. People are always saying it's not a good idea to have a big discussion about politics in the workplace. Why? People always ask, well, why not? Well, it's because talking about politics can turn a pleasant working environment into a tense and uncomfortable situation, just like you mentioned, Jerry. And certain topics should not be discussed in the workplace, and politics is one of them, because it can affect the productivity of the employees. And if it is necessary to talk about politics, we should do it with a close friend who has a positive attitude, a friend that's trustful, and a friend that we share the same opinions and viewpoint as ourselves, and also someone who's also on the same political team as we are. I mean,
Yes.
we can have we can have different opinions, but
Mhm.
if you're on the same political team, it's unlikely that it will develop into a huge disagreement.
Right. I agree with you on that. And then again, a problem with when you're talking about politics is that these topics, they really can be very explosive.
Mm.
What really starts as a casual discussion about the
Mm-hmm.
candidate can suddenly spiral to a disrupted, overstanding work relationship. You never know where or when your casual conversation or the casual comments will offend a coworker.
That is true, and that's why we have to be careful what we say and how we say it. And
Mhm.
many people have grown so tired of political talk because it can be repetitive, negative, disturbing, and a big waste of time in this situation where there's a lot of work to be done. And when you have someone who's constantly talking about the candidate, the politics, it can just be disrupting. And sometimes it is not easy to deal with people who wants to impose their views on you, or they want to push your buttons. And so, yeah, some people know exactly what to say when they want to push your buttons. And that's why you just have to be on the guard and be careful on how you respond.
Yes. And also, like when you're discussing politics in the workplace, that it's really a sensitive topic.
It
And,
sure is.
political discussions, they can really escalate,
Mm-hmm.
into like tension between the coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, there may be a lot of disagreements, anger, which can lead to arguments, unpleasant comments,
Mm-hmm.
which leads to conflict regarding negative versus positive opinions. It can be
Mm-hmm.
very offensive and intimidating comments as well.
Yeah, and political discussion can also escalate into a breakdown or split of a team,
Mm-hmm.
a work employee team, and also it strike a heated debate, and this can lead to resentment, which can have a negative effect on the working relationship of the team. So this is why we have to say, remember that you are going to be working together with your coworkers after the political issues have stopped. So you don't want to damage your future working relationship with your workers over something that is temporary. And this is why it's very important to think in terms of the overall effect of political discussions in the workplace. You just have to think if it's worth it or not, and to be careful.
Yes, that's so true. But
Hmm.
Tammy, reflecting back on my 29 years of work experience, I have observed various coworkers' reaction to politics, which
Hmm.
totally encouraged me not to get involved in workplace politics. Say, for instance, give me an example. Perhaps your manager overheard a discussion, and he or her viewpoints were totally opposite of yours. A
Hmm.
conversation of this nature can really affect your job, your bonus, your raise,
Yes.
and it also
Mm.
could change your manager's opinion on you as an employee. So
Mm.
be very careful voicing your opinions and discussing politics in a workplace. It's really not worth it.
Yeah, I would say. Well, the only thing that I can think of in terms of example, I really haven't had too much experience in getting involved in a heated discussion about politics in the workplace because I just don't tend to get engaged with it. But the only one that I can remember, the only experience that I remember is that one of employee is always going around stating who he think is going to win. No matter what the poll is showing, no matter what people are saying, no matter what the issues the candidates are discussing, he will constantly tell him, I know who's going to win. This person is going to win. Don't worry, this person is going to win. And sometimes that can put off some co-workers. And some people are just like, he has a lot of nerve just going around talking like that. Yes. Yeah. So for me, I haven't had too much experience in getting in a heated discussion because I try to just stay neutral when people are talking about politics. I say what I know, and then I just stay neutral.
Then what to do? Now that you know the reasons not to discuss politics in the workplace, how do you stop it from happening? So, Tammy, here are some tips that can help one avoid getting into political discussions at work. One, you want to be direct. Don't get engaged. It's easy to ignore the occasional reference politicians, but if coworkers don't stop talking about them, it's okay to say or ask them to stop. Sometimes it's best to be polite and just be direct. You may say, I don't like to talk about politics at the job. I find it's too hard. Find it that it's not too easy for me to be or feel distracted. So I need to focus on my job responsibilities.
Yeah, because I guess when you have someone who's constantly talking about politics or talking period, that could be kind of distracting to some people. Yeah. So number 2, you should choose your response to political comment very carefully, like I mentioned before, because we cannot control our coworkers' political comments or opinion. We just have to be careful how we respond to their comments. And number 3, we have to focus on the fact. There will be time when you cannot avoid a political discussion, like when your bosses or clients mention the latest news report. If this happens, you can acknowledge their opinions. Just be neutral.
Yes. And number 4, when you're dealing with an excessive talkative coworker, you may find yourself, really, working with these types of coworkers. So you need to really know to set boundaries with them and redirect the focus on the job productivity. Number 5, it is a great deal or a great idea of HR and the employer to send out like a memo prior to election time. So if anyone's political opinions, or if you find that anyone's political opinions become like harsh or racist or demeaning, it should be brought to their attention right away.
That is true. So in conclusion, make sure that you don't allow political discussion in your workplace to cause long-lasting dispute and damage your working relationship with your coworkers. If a discussion does occur in the workplace, it is best to respect other people's opinion, stay neutral, or keep the conversation factual.
You also need to keep your opinions to yourself. Don't or try not to really get involved, and just state that you're not interested. Be sure it doesn't interfere with your job performance.
That is true. Well, so we hope we have shared with you some useful tips on how to respond effectively to political discussions in the workplace. Next week, we will be talking about dress for success, appropriate dress attire in the workplace. Be sure to tune in to our show for more tips and tools to support you so you can increase your productivity and be a high performer in your job and in your life. We thank you for listening to our show.
For more information or questions about the show, call 847-943-9014 or send an email to info@tammygilbert.com. That's info@tammigilbert.com. That's all for today's show, Career CPR with Tammy and Jerry. To register for the workshop, Career CPR, increase employees' productivity and maximize performance. Send an email to info@tammygilbert.com or call 847-943 643-9014. Remember, an engaged employee is both a happy and successful employee.